Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting in 55 seconds. Please take your seat. Can you hear me? Good? Great. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Radosław Czekan. I'm founder of Warsaw Debate Chamber, and I have an honor and pleasure to be your host tonight during the closing ceremony of the CEE Capital Market Leaders Forum 2018. And I assure you, thank you, that's the moment. And I assure you, this will be a good investment and time well spent, especially due to the second part of our evening, when we're going to have a debate about blockchain risks and benefits, first by students and then by experts, but more on that later. For the last 4 days, 45 young leaders were learning from capital markets and finance experts. They were learning from their mentors, and they were learning from each other. This unique opportunity to bring and connect the brightest minds of Central and Eastern Europe would not be possible without Leslaw A. Paga Foundation that organized the forum. And I would like to invite to the floor the Chief Operating Officer of the Foundation, Marta Płowiec.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry to inform you that our CEO and founder, Eva Paga, couldn't be here tonight with us because of some very busy personal matters, but she asked me to read for you a few words she prepared for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry I can't be with you tonight due to my personal issues. I am sure you will spend a very interesting evening while debating on pros and cons of blockchain technology in the financial sector. I am happy to announce the end of 4th edition of CEE Capital Market Leaders Forum. The project was originally an initiative of the Capital Market Leaders Academy alumni. Together with the foundation team, they organized this project in 2015. Since then, we made 4 editions of the forum, and from the beginning, we were supported by Visegrad Fund. Each year, through the forum, together with our partners, we aspire to create a platform for international cooperation of business leaders and young professionals. I will be proudly calling participants of the forum our alumni from now on. I know that the effort and hard work we undertake at the Foundation makes sense. I would like to thank every and each partner that supported our project and have invested in young, talented people. First of all, I would like to thank the Ministry of Finance for the honorary patronage and the Warsaw Stock Exchange for being the co-organizer of the forum. Thank you to our partners, Alior Bank, ANG Spółdzielnia, Aria Fund, ING Bank Śląski, iWOCA, iWealth, Nationale Nederlanden TFI, National Depository for Securities, Neton, PWC, Warsaw Banking Institute, Société Générale, Polskie Górnictwo Naftowe i Gazownictwo SA. Thank you to our supporting partners, Microsoft, Biltech, MIT Enterprise Forum Poland, Warsaw Debate Chamber, Poland Innovative, Instytute Pro Polityku Espelosont, Republikon Institute, Foundation for the Promotion and Accreditation of Economic Education. I want to say thank you for the media coverage to the following titles: Equity Magazine, Magiel, Parkiet, Profit Journal, and Stockwatch. Thank you to the universities for their honorary patronage: Collegium Civitas, Warsaw School of Economics, Leon Koźmiński Academy, Economic University in Poznań. Thank you, Justyna Florczak, for efficient project management. You did a great job. Last but not least, I would like to thank all of CE alumni for their contribution into the program development. Thank you and enjoy your evening. Thank you very much.
And now I pass the floor to Justyna Florczak, the project manager.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Radek. And I would like to add some to what Marta said. At the beginning, I would like to thank you and to welcome our mentors, alumni of previous projects and previous editions, who have been a huge support for us in recent days. But first of all, because it's your evening, I would like to welcome to all students and forum participants, our 45 students from CE region. I have to say that I'm very proud of you. I'm sorry. I'm also very, very happy that such young, talented, and intelligent people like you will become part of the CE capital market. It was a very intensive time for us, full of inspiring and motivating meetings, but filled with a huge dose of knowledge. And I think it's the most important of this project, because I deeply believe that thanks to this project, you have become truly leaders. I would also like to welcome students from the financial circle of the Lublin University of Technology with Mr. Vice-Dean Artur Pastor. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that speeches. And now I would like to tell you something about what we are doing here in the forum. Because we are very delighted to have such extraordinary young leaders from Central and Eastern Europe that for sure will shape the future of finance, economy, and capital markets. However, there is a important distinction between an expert and a recognized expert. And this difference is that the second one is speaking out and is listened. And especially in terms of important current topics. And probably one of the most controversial and problematic issue right now is blockchain technology. It hit the headlines with new Bitcoin millionaires. It scares governments, it amazes experts, and it's a mystery to every man. And when I was preparing for that debate, to lead it, to ask questions, I found some opinion of a random investor called Warren Buffett. And he said about Bitcoin, actually, Bitcoin is not the same as blockchain, but it's based on blockchain, for your information. Warren Buffett, stay away from it. It's a mirage, basically. In terms of cryptocurrencies, generally, I can say almost with certainty that they will come to a bad ending. That's a Warren Buffett, very smart guy. But on the other hand, we have John McAfee, one of the persons responsible for the safety of your computers and the internet. You can't stop things like Bitcoin. It will be everywhere, and the world will have to readjust. World governments will have to readjust. So let's see who is right in this case. The motion in the House is growing popularity of blockchain technology will do more harm than good. And you will see two teams arguing for and against the motion in speeches lasting 3 minutes each. And then we're starting with the proposition side, then opposition, then proposition, and go on. So the sides are randomized. It means that speakers are not necessarily speaking their own position, but they are arguing for the sake of the argument. You can ask them about the personal opinion later. So now please give one round of applause to the brave speaker from the proposition bench, Bogdan Masztalir, Daria Turowcewa, and Taya Cycowa. And in the opposition, we have Jan Mysłowski, Marcin Nadolny, Szymon Brodziak. Speeches last 3 minutes, and the time will be communicated in a traditional debating way by clapping. After first minute, it means that speakers can ask questions. Before the last minute, it means there's no questions, and 2 claps at the end of the speech. 3 claps means definite ending. The debate will be concluded by discussion and comments by experts. So without any further ado, I would like to invite the first speaker to present the case in the debate. Here.
Okay, so hello everyone. So we're starting, right? Okay, so sorry, but the blockchain is the least, not the most safe system right now. And what blockchain actually gives us, it's unregulated and uncontrolled money that flows around between the people, companies, enterprises, and it's not traceable. So imagine the drug dealers, the terrorist affairs spreading all around the world, and we cannot prevent it. Government doesn't know what's going on, when the money comes from. For that sake, it's going to be a collapse of the safety on the national levels. Also, if the blockchain grows big enough, we're going to have like huge stake of economy being in it, like 10, 20, 50%, and then the government would have an issue. The whole money supply in the economy would be questioned, as you will not be able to accurately measure how much money is there and what you have to do to mitigate the risks and set the interest rates, which is another great point that would make asset management firms, the government think about new regulations, spend money, or manage it in some other mysterious way that we haven't discovered yet. Also, I wanted to talk about the Hyperledger. So it's a B2B free system you can establish between enterprises to communicate through blockchain. But the main threat there is that IBM, Cisco, and some other big institutions totally control it. So I'm not sure if you would be so glad to put all your data, information in money flows and not be 100% certain if this company would not be able to dig into and take out your data. Another interesting point is Ethereum network. As we know, many startups work on it because it's free and it's B2C, so actually it's public blockchain network, is used for payments, and this system is called smart contract. Basically, it eliminates intermediary, what is blockchain is about, and you don't have operational intermediary, but it cannot check the information. One is there, it cannot be changed. Any slight mistake, and that's your fault. Transaction, money goes, transaction's completed. If you haven't seen something, some small detail in the contract, that's your fault, money goes, you cannot sue the system. So that means that you have, if you're not great attorney, lawyer, or financial compliance expert, you have to hire the intermediary to actually confirm your smart contracts. And that adds intermediary that we wanted to exclude, which brings us to confusion whether we should use these smart contracts at all. And as a proof to this, we have 93% of Bitcoins that are mined by big consortiums. So basically, what they do, for some reason, they do not use smart contracts. 93% connected with blockchain technology, mining. Actually, Bitcoin is done by big corporations, and they do not use it. Why? Probably not convenience.
Thank you very much. And now, please welcome the first speaker from the opposition bench.
Thank you very much. Let me thank my opponent for laying out his arguments, and let me briefly address some of them. First of all, you said that blockchain is an unregulated matter, but it's unregulated as of right now and not in the future. So it's all a matter of meeting in one place and agreeing on some good regulating framework for this technology in the future. Also, you are constantly talking about mining, which makes me think that you are somehow confusing blockchain and Bitcoin, which is only one application of the whole technology and not the most perfect. I am definitely a proponent of the idea that a widespread application of public blockchain technology would do us more good than harm. Of course, there are both practical and philosophical limits to the scope of applications of this technology. And it will make all the incumbents on the market rethink their value creation process. So it's to be expected that they will approach the technology with some degree of hesitation. But there is definitely more to be gained than to be lost. For example, for Walmart, blockchain is a good way to follow crate of frozen tilapia from Shanghai to Wyoming. For Maersk, the Danish shipping conglomerate, blockchain may be used to help confirm that a very important customs form for a cargo ship in Dubai has been signed. A blogger in Mexico City may use blockchain to collect micropayments from his readers all over the world. Later on. The small former Yugoslavian Republic of Montenegro appears to be setting the trend in the acceptance of Bitcoin, where recently 3 apartments were sold for a sum of 420 Bitcoins for the apartments. Now, technically speaking, you may just say that Bitcoin is just a glorified linked list. But this linked list comes with a set of very unique properties, which are perceived as its core advantages. First off, blockchain is cryptographically secure. Secondly, it's decentralized, so there is no single point of failure. It's also transparent, and on top of that, it's also time-stamped, making it useful for tracking and verifying information. I'm not a futurist, and I believe that the future is not something to be predicted. It's something to be achieved. What we are arguing as a team is that this technology is revolutionary and holds vast potential to change whole society. Now, I cannot emphasize enough the whole overhype that is surrounding the technology as of right now, as blockchain is being hailed as the ultimate resolution of all the problems of mankind. I believe that blockchain is definitely not a magic solution to all of humanity's problems, but if we used wisely and in a strategically coordinated cooperation, it can at least help us resolve some of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your fine speech. And now please welcome the second speaker from the proposition.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to my opposition, and I would like to put a question mark on the point of decentralization, actually. We will use Bitcoin as a great example of blockchain technology, and you also argued that why we use it. Actually, it's one proof of this technology which we can observe during last 3 years. Actually, about this decentralization, we may observe that 81% of all mining pools are actually in the hand of China. So it may be put a very big question mark on the problem of decentralization in the problem of 51% attack. This simply means that if a mining pool will take in their hand 51% of the whole leverage, they will be able just to put their own assumption, they will be able to collect the data, and actually they will be able to make some illegal transactions. So they will be able, for example, the problem of double spending, which was actually mentioned several years ago by Satoshi Nakamoto, who is actually invented Bitcoin. Another problem is, which was mentioned by my teammate, is the problem of illegal transaction. Nowadays, the problem of anti-money laundering is a very big issue, and companies... Yes, sure.
Do you actually have one example of such situation, which currency was...
Yes, we have such example. For example, Silk Road, it's a digital black market. This example took place several years ago, so all the transactions which happened there were based on the blockchain technology, actually on cryptocurrencies. So they were selling of illegal drugs and other illegal transactions. Actually, unfortunately for us, it was closed, but we cannot predict what is going to be in future, and for sure, I think that such situations may happen in several years later. And the second one is that we are all humans, and we know we are all making mistakes. And if we will assume that blockchain technology is a huge database, actually the first information which is put in this database will be put by a human. So if you want to sell, I don't know, if you want to buy art and you want to buy a picture, and actually you assume that it is real money, I don't know, and you cannot be sure at the end. It may be falsified, and at the end it will be false and not true picture, but the whole base and the whole leverage, the whole blockchain will be based on the assumption that it was true. So the whole system and all users will just, at the end of the day, they will just end with the false information. So, just summing it all up, I just want to say that we cannot underestimate the role of actually blockchain technology in our life. It will for sure revolutionize it, but we can put a big question mark on such problems like decentralization, safety, and transparency. So thank you for my attention, and I would like to make a word to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech, and now it's the time for the second speaker from the opposition.
Thank you very much for your speech. If I may, I would like to make a few comments on this because I disagree with some of parts. First of all, in terms of the 51% attacks, it's not like this exactly how you said. Silk Road was not an exchange in these terms. It was the place when you can buy, for example, drugs and other illegal stuff. However, in terms of this attack, there are not many examples of successes. It's mostly theoretical. However, for example, Gnash.io once was in possession of more than 51% of the whole volume, decided to decrease it in order to control less than 40, in order to avoid such allegations, as you mentioned. Moreover, if you said about false input data, I think that if you do it manually, I mean on all of the stages, the possibility of the fact that there is a fault is significantly higher than in terms of blockchain, where you firstly put it and then it's transferred automatically. But maybe let's move to what I wanted to say. I would like to speak on the ICO process, which in my opinion is far more easier and more convenient for company to obtain financing. First of all, it's cheaper, then it's smoother, and then provides companies to the wider access of investors. Why it's cheaper? If we compare to the IPO process, in terms of ICO, there is no need to hire investment bankers, law companies. There is no need to prepare quite costly materials, which may lead to the fact that the exact cost of the ICO will be significantly lower. Of course, depending on size of the transaction as well. If I move to the process, if we compare IPO, which may last up to more than 1 year, to the ICO, which can be done in a few months, there are several reasons behind it. First of all, it is the fact that ICOs are not regulated by many authorities, so that you don't need to prepare extensive prospectus to present your company. However, you may do, and it's more common that the companies prepare white papers, so kind of the proof for the fact that they operate legally. Okay, and if I go to the next point, there's better access to the variety of investors. For example, if you conduct IPO on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, you will probably have access mostly to the investors from Poland. Of course, someone from abroad can purchase your shares, however, shares of your company. However, it is mostly more costly and not that convenient. In terms of ICO, it's much easier because you address the offer to the whole world simply, and your shares can be purchased by a variety of investors from all around the world interested in your segment. So that are the three main reasons why we believe that the ICO is significantly better than IPO, and companies should consider it in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we are moving to final speeches, starting from the proposition. Here.
Well, hello. First, thanks for being here with us. And I have a lot of references to my colleagues. So first of all, we didn't mention that we didn't speak about the manual inputting data during the transaction, during the whole chain of blocks. We were mentioning the fact that in case the first person which starts the blockchain makes something wrong or inputs the fake data, it affects the whole blockchain. So this is the first point. The second point regarding the ICO, of course, we have no doubts that's the new innovative model of fundraising. But just think, like the data provided by the leading blockchain industry media, Cointelegraph, says that 80% in 2018, 80% of ICO were scams. So they were not executed in the right way. They just failed. And of course, we need regulations for this matter to be changed, and that's the future. And besides, I would like to refer to the interconnection of the humans and technology also. So we have here the examples of ICO. We have here the example of false input of data. What else? Simply the stealing of your data. The only thing right now, what your data, excuse me, let me finish. The only key which right now the data is secured with is your digital key, is your digital signature. So once one steals it, he owns your data, he owns the hash of your transaction, he steals your money. Well, I think that not every one of you heard of this, but there is the one step ahead technology called quantum computing, which potentially could solve this problem, but it's already the future. But we are now in the phase of extremely hype of blockchain. And what we need to remember, that we need to look from both sides. You need to know the advantages and you need to know the disadvantages. Just in this case, you might judge the technology, you might create your opinion on this. And well, right now, unfortunately, because of the media, because of the hype on ICOs, because of the promotion of this technology, revolutionary, it's not possible to look at it objectively. I'm not arguing that that's the bad technology, but we still have a huge way to walk through. Besides looking at the current market, don't you think that the blockchain will bring the information asymmetry? Those bigger players on the market will take it and will implement it as soon as they can, because they have resources, whereas the younger firms, the younger, ambitious startups not always have the access to the blockchain technology and always fail what the statistics say. Thank you. Well, basically that is it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And now the final speech from the opposition.
Thank you all for being here. I think the main outcome of our discussion should be whether, in terms of technology development, we are optimists or pessimists. You can't be sure what will be the final result, as you are simply cannot be 100% sure in anything in your life. Expect taxes. But I think that we, as the opposition, the technology enthusiast, we provide some strong argument that blockchain technology will do actually more good than harm. Starting from the decentralization through safety, lower economical costs, the transparency, we are all witnesses of these changes. It's happening right now. Our honorable colleagues from Proposition are often confusing blockchain with Bitcoin. And as there's still a strong possibility that Bitcoin will fail, the technology, the blockchain, will prevail. As it happened with the internet, when there was a dot-com bubble. The proposition raised doubts such as possibility of ICO scam, the need of regulation, but it's not the problem of technology, and the technology is the thing we are discussing right now. Progress needs time, legal systems needs time, and giving up on blockchain today would be like giving up on cars in 19th century, because horses were cheaper and faster, and they actually were, but with applied technology, with applied technological development, the regulations, nowadays we can't live without cars. You may not know, but I'm also a fan of history. And if there is one thing that history can teach us, is like we can't be afraid of new technologies. So my final statement will be really short: be brave, never give up on blockchain, and furthermore, never give up on progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech, and please give one big round of applause to all the speakers for an amazing debate. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. These are not trained speakers. They had some number of hours to prepare, so I think it was reasonably well done. And now it's time to see what are our experts' opinions and how they will discuss the motion and whether they are convinced more by proposition or opposition bench. So I would like to invite to the floor 5 extraordinary speakers in no particular order, starting with Daniel Szewieczek, Executive Director of ING Bank Śląski. Dariusz Lewandowski, founder and CEO of Area Fund. Paweł Sobków, CEO of Pinów Holding and BitBay. Mariusz Zabrocki, CEO of Iwoka Polska and alumnus of Capital Markets Leaders Academy. And finally, Aleksander Kijek, Chief Product Officer in Neton. Yeah, please. We have enough of them. Great. So maybe starting with the person that appeared on the stage as the last one, Alexander, can you tell us who was more convincing? Proposition, opposition, how do you feel? Who laid their arguments better in terms of blockchain technology?
That's a tough question as a first to already score the guys who spoke. Who was better? I think, firstly, in today's world where the technology rules, being the proposition of blockchain and being for technology is far easier, of course. Also because that's actually probably true. The problem with blockchain, in my view, is that nobody came up with any good idea of how to use it yet.
Thank you very much. The proposition side argued a lot about the risks and problems of blockchain. I would like to ask Paweł Sobków, can you tell us, are these problems, risks, really possible, or whether we can accept them? What's the real scope of the dangers of blockchain right now?
Actually, the biggest barrier to implement blockchain is the regulation. And a lot of disadvantages and risk which was presented was related to cryptocurrencies. There was no other, the examples, real examples like, the medicines, real estate or something like this. So I think that a lot of potential frauds and a lot of, bad things which was happening in the past was related to, and was dependent because of the lack of the regulation. So full AML procedures, KYC, for sure, it will be like the barrier and limitation for those risks. And then the rest, of course, the technology will be developing very fast. I'm completely sure about it. And actually, all the security tokens, the bonds and the shares which you can issuing on the blockchain and real estates, when you can be the ownership of the part of the 1 square meter somewhere all over the world. It's give you, access to almost everything. But for me, the regulation is the first barrier, and it was really presented. All things which was presented as a disadvantages was based on it, lack of regulation.
But can you explain us how this potential regulation could look like? Because one of the points from the proposition was that if you want to regulate it, then you lose the majority of benefits from blockchain that's decentralized, right? So how to regulate something that should not be regulated to some extent?
The requirements and credibility and trust, because if you compare a lot of projects in the past, like the weak currencies, really weak currencies, and that can be hacked by putting the extra power as some mining force to do the confirmation on fake transactions, first thing. Second thing, a lot of scams in ICOs. Without regulation, without requirement, responsibility for the owners of the project, which will be stated in some legal frame, it will be really difficult. You try to imagine that a lot of crypto platform in the past, the way to advertise and obtain some new user was 5 minutes registration process without AML and KYC. So it was the reason that by the end of the day, how you can implement the regulation and force the users to do full KYC process if their main scope is to be anonymous and do some frauds potential. So this is the problem.
So is regulation possible?
Of course.
Yes.
The Maltese government implements regulation. It is forced since 1st November this year. Luxembourg is already for cryptocurrency is done. Liechtenstein is working. Switzerland is working. In Germany, they have some part of the regulation. So it means that you can prepare an ETO, STO project, which will be as a security tokens, and it will be approved by the German financial authority, BaFin. So this is in force already.
Thank you very much. Mariusz, are you this optimistic about regulation?
So definitely regulations are always behind innovations in technology, and that's quite natural. I mean, if people who create regulations, they would understand technology, they wouldn't be responsible for regulations. They would rather probably earn money developing businesses. So I think we cannot expect too much, let's say, from regulations. However, I think that there are some, let's say, lights in the tunnel that regulations in some countries are being prepared for blockchain. So I think it's a very difficult subject, especially that most of the people do not really understand what blockchain is. So maybe for those of you who do not know, I'll try to have a very simple definition. It's an immutable, immutable means not modifiable, and consensus-based database, basically. And most of the people really don't understand that this is just a type of database. They just think, okay, it's a cryptocurrency, or this is just a way to, I don't know, scam money out of people. So I think we still need a lot of work in terms of education in this area.
But should we be afraid of blockchain technology development, or should we be like open to it? If you would like to advise to like every man, should you be more like for or against? What would be your advice to that person?
Definitely, I would be careful with some of the implementation. So I'm very skeptical about cryptocurrencies and about ICOs, especially at this stage. But on the other hand, there are massive opportunities in terms of creating payment systems where we could have immediate transactions globally with very low costs. We could use it to to make data belong to the user again, like for example in credit databases, if they would be stored in blockchain instead of by centralized institution. The same about medical data, as you mentioned. So I think there's definitely there are some ways that it could be used in very useful way. But on the other hand, you know, when you look at when I look at smart contracts, for example, I think okay, it's great that we could have contracts that are automatically implemented. That you know there would be no central institution like a lawyer or notary. But you know, when I think about it, okay, legal language is difficult, but how about computer code? Because when we trust smart contracts, then we're actually trusting somebody's computer code. Which, as some of you probably know, the case of DAO, one of those first, let's say, implementations of smart contracts where there was a bug or, let's say, a gap in the code that was explored by one of the hackers who stole tens of millions of dollars. So I think there is still a long way before this technology can find consumer use, especially that personal data, according to current regulations, cannot be stored at blockchain because GDPR specifically bans, let's say, data not being, let's say, not giving right to a customer to remove their data or to modify their data. And this is an inherent quality of blockchain.
So just very briefly, because we are all speaking in this debate, not all about the status quo only, but also about the growing popularity, how we expand, right? So can you tell us what will be the blockchain of future? Because we are speaking here about cryptocurrencies, about Bitcoin, because this is what we see right now, right? The major applications of the blockchain. So how would be looking the blockchain of future, right? So what will be the next step after cryptocurrencies?
So the next step, so I think the next step, as I mentioned, that it would be, I think corporations will use it more and more. So I think we have this idealistic view that some people in the garage or I don't know somewhere will be developing this technology, but in the end, I think there's a huge monetization potential and already you can see, for example, the payment system created by Goldman Sachs together with other banks where they use blockchain for international transactions. So I think in the end, I think corporations will drive the change because it creates huge amounts of cost savings. And I think that's the most important thing for corporations, that you basically can get rid of middle office in many segments of the business.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask Dariusz Lewandowski, are you technology enthusiast, us opposition, that says we should not be afraid. We all heard that in the past, that if you are afraid of the technology, it will bring the end of the world. But finally, we'll all, with computers, with the internet, with all the great stuff that we enjoy. So do you agree with opposition that we should be more enthusiastic, and even if there are some risks, just to give it a chance?
Well, in general, I simply love technology. This is first thing. It's very simple. We love technology. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the technology is applied in a proper way, which sometimes is basically difficult and takes time. This is exactly like with the cars. It took us more than 100 years to make the autonomous cars. More than 100 years. And, I remember I used an Excel spreadsheet in early 1990s. And today it's 2018, and most of the applications did not change that much. So it takes time to really find how to use what we have invented.
Thank you very much. Moving to Daniel Szewieczek, you're representing here ENG, right? And this is the mainly debate about removing intermediaries from big financial transactions. So can you tell us what are banks doing right now to prepare for that, or how banks will be dealing with the problem of blockchain technology popularity?
Yeah. So, referring to the debate, I've heard that an opinion that we are underestimating the role of the blockchain in the future. I think we are not. We are estimating the big role of blockchain in the future. For banking sector, I think that there are a lot of useful applications of blockchain, like durable medium or maintaining multi-entity contracts in wholesale banking. But what I would like to stress is that here I will be a kind of the customer advocate. We are talking about the complexity of the blockchain technology, and this technology is becoming more and more complex. But finally, at the end, we have the final validator, which is the customer, the client. For us, for the financial institutions, for bank, it's crucial that the experience of the customers should be very transparent and easy. Now it's not, because blockchain is very complicated for the end users. And what is crucial and what is extremely important is to try to explain how it works and make it as much transparent as it only could be, to convince people and ensure them that it's not against the final users, but it's helping to facilitate their life. So just coming from the next end, not going deeply into the technology, we always have to consider that people engaged in the development of the blockchain should rely on it. And the trust is crucial.
So trust will be lower in case of blockchain. That's why we will need still big banks, financial institutions to give that trust to clients?
Blockchain is a lovely technology because it's worth to trust. But first, as it was discussed before, we have to have somehow regulated markets to ensure the end users, the end customers, that somebody is taking care of their interests. Because usually when we are talking about the banking sector, we are taking into account people's money. And the trust in here is a crucial part.
Paweł Sobków, with all these problems raised by propositions saying that it's very easy to get 51, in case of getting 51% of users control, you can simply do any fraud you want in the blockchain network. Is the trust really possible if there is always this very small chance that it might be steal from you, that it's irreversible fraud. Is it possible to persuade people that this risk can be mitigated or can be accepted?
This risk is related only to some of the cryptocurrencies. I mean, the very weak cryptocurrencies. This is the first issue. Second thing is that this is related also to public blockchain, not the private blockchain. So if we would like to use this technology for
can you explain the difference between private and public blockchain?
Public is, common known. The code, the source code is open, and everybody can join to these peer-to-peer transactions. In private, it means that this is not public. It's closed. We have some computers. We have some peers, and between them, there is the confirmation for transaction or for confirmation for some information. So this is the main difference. So if you would like to use, let's say, the blockchain for medicines, for pills, let's say, for some other stuff, for sure it will be not public. It will be private. It will be closed. And we can prepare this time of architecture for the system to be sure that it will be implemented. But once more, the technology is completely new. It's like with baby. First, we should teach how to walk and then run. So we are still in this phase that we have a baby. We know how we can, implement this system in different areas. The cryptocurrency actually is the best example, but because it's based on the blockchain. So this is the only one example when we can really do some measurement of this technology. But once more, we know actually that there is some risk, there is some limitation, but only is the question how we can manage it.
You said about that it's a danger mainly to weak cryptocurrencies. Can you tell us what is like maybe the probable, but the closest real-life application of blockchain that is not cryptocurrency?
For me, the best example actually, because it's already regulated in Malta, is security tokens. So it means that we can offer to the customer the bonds or some equity. We will receive the rights for voting, rights to get a dividend, and we are the shareholders of some entity, I mean the company, and everything will be based on the blockchain. All transaction, it will be not like traditional stock exchange, for example, Warsaw Stock Exchange, but it will be based on the blockchain. Transaction 24 hours, 7 days per week. So it means that this is something which is already happened. In the past, it was based on ICO, mainly the crowdfunding. But actually, I think that the first quarter next year, we will have very interesting few ETO, which will be approved by the German government. And I think it will be the best example to present for the traditional investors from traditional market that this is possible. It works, it's fully regulated, and it's safe.
So future is bright for blockchain. Yes. Mariusz, regarding initial coin offering, because it was the clash within the debate, some sides claimed that it's an incredible opportunity for businesses to gather capital. In the other side, there were claims that actually it's not as effective, it's not safe. What's your opinion on this application?
So, I mean, so far, there was this number of 80%, some people say 90%. There are different numbers, how big is the share of frauds among ICOs. I think we can talk about different things because there's ICO, which is, some people they're just using this buzzword, they're using the hype to promote some projects which are dubious, not very good at all. Actually, they wouldn't get funding otherwise, but because it's such a huge buzzword and nobody understands it, then the people just go for this buzzword and they invest in ICO. But at the same time, blockchain technology could be used not only for those scams. I mean, often there's no blockchain there. Actually, it's just a name. But in reality, we could use this technology to bring more security to transactions. For example, to reduce the costs of issuing shares, issuing bonds.
access to money,
Yeah,
to global investors.
Yeah, we could make it. We could really get rid of most of the costs, lawyers, and many other things which are useless. I think so. There is a potential, not in the way that we currently see, but I think in the future this technology will be used to reduce costs, to make things more secure and faster in the security space. So I definitely see a huge potential in that, and but I'm very skeptical about. There will be regulations. There will be securities regulations. It's very important that ICO tokens, they will be regulated as financial securities, and because that's what they will be. I mean, they will be the same as shares, bonds. They should be the regulations should be as strict as in the case of bonds and shares. So, that's why I think there's a big future. But on the other hand, we have things like cryptocurrencies, where this. I think they have really no future in the form that they currently exist.
Why?
When you have a cryptocurrency like this, you create certain algorithm how much the supply will look in the future. So in the case of Bitcoin, you have this decelerating increase of supply, and it's predetermined from the start. And it's extremely difficult to create, let's say, a mathematical formula which will properly reflect the increase in demand. And why it is so important? I mean, let's look at Bitcoin. If we have such a deflationary, let's say, growth, it means that with increasing adoption, more and more people will try to hoard the money, hoard Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, instead of using it for transactions. Which means that in the end, paradoxically, the more popular Bitcoin is, the more people use it to spend, because they just keep it for speculation. It's like a hot potato jumping from one speculator to another, and that's not how currency should work. And I think it's a delusion that we can create a mathematical formula that will replace what central banks are doing in a really great way. Because I think when you look at what's happening from 1970s, we have stable inflation in all Western world countries, despite all the complexity, increasing internationalization, and unpredictability, and still central banks manage to manage inflation. And I doubt that I can challenge any crypto enthusiast that they can find a formula that will replicate what central banks are doing.
Pavel, can you take the challenge?
No, I think that the Bitcoin will be in the future very, very, very strong cryptocurrency, and I think that we should treat it as some commodity. And if we're trying to analyze the users, the players who actually try to do the trading on the platform, very often there's the people with the experience from Forex. So it's like sometimes like the gambling, some hazard, but using the Bitcoins, they can do some speculation, they can do some, but they still some commodity. By the end of the day, they can use it, they can sell, they have money, or if not, they can use it for a payment. And we know that it was an example to buy some apartment it was in Montenegro, but I know that even in Dubai, you can visit there and you can buy the apartment.
It's possible to buy burgers in Warsaw with Bitcoin. So.
In which bar?
Yes.
I will not give an advertisement right now, but we can talk later about this.
Yes. But for sure, in one restaurant, we already applied the system from BitBay Pay, and there is the possibility to pay for your dinner using the Bitcoin. So this is.
Your drug dealer?
No.
I'd like to ask Dariusz Lewandowski. Are you convinced by any of the speakers? Do you believe that it's going to be? Do you think that it's going to be really something that can be a good thing in terms of cryptocurrency? So what I'm asking is whether cryptocurrencies is something that we can change, whether we should invest in it, or we should just focus on how to build private blockchain networks as described before, and then forget about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all other currencies.
Well, the best thing in the world would be to just forget all the currencies. Point
All?
number one, all. This is point number one. Point number two, we are in the place we are in. This is also the headquarters of depository for stocks and bonds. And this is clear that this depository should, they have already started, I think, the implementation of blockchain technology, because the technology is about transferring the data, as simple as that. You know, today to register the stock, it takes weeks or sometimes even months. So it's very clear. If you can speed up and make it within seconds, yes, this is huge progress. But if we are talking about cryptocurrency, to be perfectly honest, you know, I completely do not understand anything about this. And Mr. Buffett is right. Thank you.
Okay, Daniel Szywieczek, should we get rid of currency at all?
Bitcoins. Yeah, it's a hard question because the general understanding is that we as a bank, we hate Bitcoins. Of course not, and of course yes, because we don't want to be eliminated from the payments, from the transactions market in the future, and we are also accommodating ourselves to this new world. The second thing is, the question is if we could make money on cryptocurrencies. Of course, yes, but we still think and believe this is too dangerous for the end users to offer them cryptocurrencies. So the approach, I'm talking as ING, is not offering bitcoins to cryptocurrencies to our customers, because we are not ready yet. Once we will become ready, we will look to this market very deeply.
So maybe Bitcoin blockchain have a great future, but we don't know yet whether it will be bright or dark. However, there is another emerging technological development that is happening, and that's why I would like to ask Alexander, would you invest today, after hearing all these arguments, rather in blockchain technology or in AI?
Yeah, I asked a guy who does AI if he would invest in AI or anything
Maybe was
else.
persuaded.
Sure.
And why
So,
AI?
Why AI? AI because it opens up doors to see more, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing insights that human beings are not able to bring, and we bring in those insights instantly, and humans would take probably hours, days, or years to come up with those insights. So AI brings clear value here and now. As I said, I'm quite strong on not really seeing yet a good use of blockchain. And also what we are hearing right now is that we spoke a lot about regulations and regulating blockchain. And I think it's a pity, because how I view blockchain is that it actually decentralizes and gives power to each node. And this idea of kind of democratic, let's say, is quite beautiful, but everything that world right now does, it's actually moving out of it and thinking about centralizing it, regulating, putting rules around, that you have a central point which actually says what are the rules of governing the whole blockchain. And I think it's a true pity. And I think there is a huge potential of not those big players that will bring in value and find a value in blockchain. I think all the big companies today are doing the same thing, just using blockchain, because it's a hype. But there is certainly a space for somebody who will come up with a great idea, maybe doing a social network on a blockchain and being able to actually use your own data as a currency within that blockchain, and decentralizing your own data, where we still right now are trying to hide our data, and I think that's also something which is backward.
So law of code rather than law of civil code, right?
Yes, you could say that. Actually, I think another thing you do with blockchain, and that's That's kind of what the Maltese government is doing, is maybe bringing in more power to people who sitting next to their computers and being on the blockchain is a better idea than having this representative democracy that we have right now.
In a second, we are moving to the questions from the audience. So if you have anything in mind, please write it down or think it twice, and we will be able to ask a couple of questions to our guests. And now, one more voice
Yes,
from
I would
Paweł
like to add
Sobków.
one thing, that the regulation is not related to technology. The regulation is related to the services or the products which use this technology. So the same, example is like that. There is no regulation for the production of the vehicles, but it's the regulation to some other issue, to the traffic, to some environment, issues, etc. But technology is not regulated. We know how it works, and if you have any plan to implement the technology to some sector, it should be regulated, and it will be regulated. Why? To do some limitation regarding any speculation of some gray area or dark zone of this.
Sure, but we all drive a car, and when we drive a car very often, we know that we can take a shortcut, but we will actually break some regulations. So we lose time because of those regulations. And actually the regulations are limiting the ways we can leverage technology, and in blockchain, because it's immutable and shared among many, maybe that regulation should not be needed. You don't need this power of saying this is the road. If 2 of us on the blockchain, or 3 of us, or 5 of us find a way, we can just leverage it within that structure, instead of having this set of rules that somebody came up and limits our ways. Even though maybe if it's a red light, there's no car around, I can just go. Why do I need to wait for that red light to change into green light?
And we'll stop here for now, just asking whether we have some questions from the audience regarding the discussion. Okay, so the last word, I think from, there is a question. Okay, can you ask?
So according to GDPR, which in Polish is called RODO, because maybe some people don't know, there are some rules what consumers can do with their personal data. And there are 2 rules which say that they can modify their personal data and that they can delete the data permanently. And blockchain technology has this one quality which is called immutable, which means you can't modify, you can't erase the data. If you have a database where you can actually erase or modify the data, it means it's not blockchain. It's just something blockchain-like. And actually most of the corporate implementations, such as Ripple, for example, are not really blockchain. They just, I think they use blockchain as a buzzword to get attention from businesses. So blockchain in its real form is against GDPR. So you can't store personal data using blockchain. But the GDPR says you can erase the data. So not hash it or unhash it.
The hash probably would not be personal data. That's why you hash data, so that it's not personal data. So,
thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from the audience? If not, I think we are heading to the end of the discussion. Thank you very much. Please give one more round of applause to all the speakers.
Thank you very much for discussion once again. As you see, it requires much more debate to claim whether blockchain technology will bring us more harm than good, especially the future is uncertain. But the one thing is certain that we are heading to the end of this ceremony. But before we'll go to that moment, I received a question from 2 students just to say a couple of words, so please welcome them on the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We won't take too much time. It will be a short notice. On behalf of all the attendees, I would like to sincerely thank the Leslaw A. Paga Foundation, all the organizers, all the companies, all the partners, for giving us this amazing opportunity to attend the forum. We are very grateful for this unique opportunity, for the laugh, for the negotiations, for the little fights in class, and we really continue to meet throughout our future in our life, whether it will be personal or for work or for fun. Thank you very much. And I would like to ask the 2 important ladies today. Yes, you too.
I have to, sorry. So Eva Paga, as you may know, has this tradition. She always steals the microphone just at the end of everything, and she tell for 10 more minutes. She says all the thank you. So I will take you 3 minutes, okay? Justyna, can I, please? Okay. So now, after you all our alumni now, I would like to say thank you once again to all the partners. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being the part of this event. I was while you were performing in front of the students, and it was very inspiring. And at some point, you are becoming the members of Leslaw A. Paga Foundation family. So I welcome you here with us, and thank you very much. Second of all, this event couldn't be possible without Justyna. Justyna, come on here. Once again. I don't know if you know that, but that was her first project here. So huge applause for her. Justyna, you did an awesome job. And I have to tell that this foundation wouldn't work without other people, our team. Just behind you there is Tomek, who is our office manager. Tomek, thank you. And I'm pretty sure that Tatiana is somewhere here. Tomek. Tatiana Szewczuk, who is our intern. And as they say, last but not least, there is a lot of our alumni here. Guys, can you stand up for a second? We have alumni from a lot of projects. Please. Or just wave to us, please. Hello, everyone. Thank you. We have alumni not only from C Capital Market Leaders Academy Forum, but we have also Alerka alumni. We have also Energy Academy. Who is from Energy Academy? Hi. We have Young Innovators. Young Innovators, where are you? Hello, hi. We have Businesswomen Leaders Academy. Hi Magda, cześć. Hi guys, and thank you for being with us. You are the family. You are the core of our family. Thank you for all your help during all these 15 years, for mentors. Thank you. For being with these students for 4 days. You didn't have to do that. You just did it. And our foundation is based on our alumni. So thank you guys. And for students from the 4th edition, welcome in the family. Thank you.
And now, because it's the ceremony, closing ceremony of the forum, I would like to invite all the participants for the photo. Show yourself to the rest of the audience. Please come. Ladies and gentlemen, the alumni of CE Capital Market Leaders Forum 2018.
Good, it's really good. You delivered. I would like him to let you answer your question. It's relevant. Really. Isn't it? It was. It's okay. We should follow the plan. That was the rule? If they want to know, if they want to. Yeah. If they don't want to take the risk of question. That's correct. Microphone. Get it.
Blockchain.